Bring in show music, please.
Hi, I'm CNBC producer Katie Kramer. Today on Squawk Pod. New guidance on vaccines for children has thrown questions to parents and care providers. Merck is the maker of several key vaccines for early health. CEO Robert Davis joins us exclusively.
As we start to bring hesitancy to vaccines, my concern is people are going to not get vaccinated and we're going to face diseases we thought were gone.
Plus, his thoughts on funding science innovation when there's new leadership in Washington.
On principle, I would say we're aligned with the administration. It's just now figuring out how do we best do it in a way that preserves the innovation of this industry and the value we bring, but gives better pricing for U.S. patients.
And free speech versus the declining fortunes of the legacy media business. The debate we can't stop having about Jimmy Kimmel, politics, and Disney.
Normal people have been complaining.
You've been complaining.
Yes.
Everyone's allowed to have their perspective, but that's the point.
Right.
They should be able to watch you or not.
We get into it, and we ask Puck's Matt Belloni about the 70 or so ABC affiliates still at odds with their parent company.
Now the question is what the fallout is going to be.
What does this mean for the future of late-night comedy?
It's not just that these shows are lower rated, it's that everything is lower rated on linear television.
It's Wednesday, September 24th. Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Becky by in 3, 2, 1. Cue it, please.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. We're live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Becky Quick along with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin. And this morning we are looking at
Jimmy Kimmel!
Anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted.
Let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel and his late night show. It did return to ABC last night, roughly a week now after the network suspended the comedian for making comments linking the alleged killer of conservative activist Charlie Kirk to President Trump's MAGA movement.
It was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make.
Now, ABC stations controlled by Nexstar and Sinclair did not air Kimmel's show last night. It's unclear when or if that show will return to the roughly 70 stations the two companies own. Last night, Kimmel accused the Trump administration of trying to force ABC affiliates to take his show off the air, which he called dangerous and un-American. And about an hour before Kimmel's show aired, President Trump posted on Truth Social saying ABC had told the White House Kimmel had been canceled. Trump accused Kimmel of being an arm of the Democratic National Committee, which he said would amount to an illegal campaign contribution. The president said, "I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative."
Talking about Stephanopoulos.
And then if you were to watch the show last night, the other piece of that segment was a very, to be honest with you, I thought funny segment where Robert De Niro was acting as Brendan Carr. And there's this phone call where Kimmel calls Brendan Carr. And, of course, De Niro is the mafia boss. And they go back and forth. And I thought he actually, stuck the landing in terms of both apologizing for what he had said and trying to clear things up at the same time that he effectively said, and did say, by the way, during the monologue, that Trump wanted him to lose his job and he wanted the 200 people who worked on the show to lose their job, and how he thought that was genuinely un-American.
Well,
So
wanting something and forcing it, neither one of us thought last week that it was going to last for more than a couple of days. So it was never much of an actual threat to free speech. He's back on. We will never hear any free speech from that other guy that had his head blown off. But, I think Charlie stood for free speech. I'm not sure Kimmel does. And Brendan Carr That's the
sure
gift.
that
That's the
Kimmel
gift.
does?
No, you don't at all. That's the gift that keeps on giving. That Brendan Carr got involved with this, and I've said that all along.
Right,
Just
that
sort of
was
just let it play out, and we'll see what happens. But two things can be true at one time, and that is Kimmel has been an arm of the DNC for the past 10 years, and that's fine. It is on public airwaves, which you could take issue with. Don't scrunch your face up.
I know I scrunch my face up because then would you say that
a mafia boss could do better than a week suspension? Don't you think? If a mafia boss was telling someone not to do something, this lasted, and we knew it would last less than a week. So where was the real? You know where the real threat to free speech was? What Google had to put up with. Why did you think he was going to come back on? If definitely it was a threat to free speech. You got Trump.
I think ABC.
You got Trump and J.D. Vance over in the UK, really talking about an assault on free speech. Why did you think they're going to come back here and fully go full bore like the Biden administration with a Ministry of Information? When liberals talk about censorship, it's misinformation and it's disinformation and it's the Ministry of Truth and it's all of these nice high-minded things that actually do cause censorship. In this case, we knew in less than a week he'd be back on. There's no censorship.
And he effectively just said, the President of the United States publicly said that, that he's going to try to shake down ABC at this point.
Well, I don't know if it's
or try to get him off the air.
Not necessarily a shakedown. It's to try to.
He just said it'd be more lucrative. What do you think that comment is?
If the media is at 6% right now approval because it's so one-sided, and you've had Jimmy Kimmel for 10 years, basically, not even telling jokes. All he did was he would give applause.
He told a lot of jokes that were left.
No, they weren't jokes. They were applause getters, trashing Republicans and Donald Trump. That's all he does. And you know, when
if you're a free market guy, if you're a free market guy,
that's fine. He can do it. That's why I said Brendan Carr shouldn't. He's digging his own.
But the Brendan Carr piece is significant. Brendan Carr did get involved. And
Brendan Carr is allowed to because it's public airwaves. Whether he would actually have done anything in terms of revoking the license is another thing. He probably could make a case and win in court.
Look, just as a 30 feet, let's take a step back. All of these things that have happened over the last year.
Let's go back 5 years. Let's go back 5 years.
But we're here. We're today.
Okay.
And whether whether you look at the law firm situation, whether you look at the university situation, whether you look at the 60-minute
Liberals
settlement.
only care about this when it affects them, Andrew. They didn't care when it was the laptop or the Wuhan.
But therefore, if you believe it's hypocrisy, then you should be standing on the side of saying.
I do. I don't think Brendan. I don't think that you're going to shut down. But I think you can. I wanted to see him just die on the vine. I've said that all along.
Well, they have a bigger problem with Nexstar and Sinclair.
Nexstar and
70 of their affiliates.
And if you don't believe
but he's going to say that that's political too, and maybe some of it is. They want to merge, but they've been complaining for years about their Heartland viewers having to put up with this as well.
Sinclair has.
All of them.
Nexstar is not.
Okay, whether
in the same
Nexstar
camp.
has or not. Normal people have been complaining.
You've been complaining.
Yes. Right, because you can watch it on a daily basis, and it's not funny. And look,
everyone's allowed to have their perspective, but that's the point.
Right.
They should be able to watch you or not. They should be able to watch
Jimmy
back on,
or not, isn't he?
He's back on, but
I don't think the story's over.
The story's not over, and the reason that he was taken off is a confluence of these things. Do I believe that there were genuine business interests in terms of taking him off? Yes, because they wanted to take the heat down. There's no question. But part of that heat
was taken off
coming
because
from
he lied about who shot Charlie Kirk. That's why he was taken off originally and wouldn't apologize. The sad thing about Disney is they pulled a Bud Light. Now both sides are mad. The left is mad because they pulled him off in the first place. Now the right is going to be furious.
Now you have a business interest. Now the market's at play.
Now the market's at play, but somehow they managed to completely alienate both sides of the country. So we'll see when is Kimmel's contract up? That's what we'll see. I heard
the
January.
reporting says at the
May.
end of the year.
May is what I heard. I heard May.
I heard May.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see. I mean, you would probably tie Colbert's.
I did not.
Demise. Well,
I did not.
Okay, but is it because the new owners of CBS are in bed with Larry Ellison, and he's a. Okay.
I didn't say any of those things.
Okay,
don't even try to
so it's
put,
just because he was losing $50 million a year. That's why he's gone. So he doesn't.
My understanding of the Colbert ending
was $50 million.
Was that for the past 2 years there were discussions that were happening internally about the economics of that program. Now,
Right.
I think again, the optics for some part of the country were not good about how that ended in the way it ended.
Right.
But at the same time, I do think that was a genuine business situation. I think the acuteness of what Kimmel said about Charlie Kirk, married with what Brendan Carr said about ABC, married with the fact that Nexstar has this transaction in front of the FCC.
And that they've been complaining for a while about being an arm of the DNC.
Was the reason that we had this situation that took place last week.
The Trump administration doesn't want Iranian diplomats in New York for the UN General Assembly shopping at Costco. In notices that are being published in the Federal Register, a State Department office determined diplomatic memberships in wholesale clubs like Costco, Sam's Club, and BJ's constitute a benefit that requires government approval. Purchases of luxury goods are in that same category. Iran, by the way, is the only country specifically targeted. Its diplomats posted to or visiting New York are known to enjoy shopping at stores like Costco, where they can cheaply buy products that aren't available in Iran and send them home. This is part of the United States trying to put some pressure on those diplomats to say you're only here for diplomatic purposes.
Interesting. I'm glad you explained it. I was wondering, how much toilet paper can you use while you're here for a couple of days?
You could take it all back with you.
You're sending it home.
Yeah.
They're sending it home. Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you like the rolls, the big oversized rolls? I like the big.
Too big.
Do you know how quickly as it goes down, how quickly then it's almost
For
like
you?
life.
For you,
No,
sure.
it's almost like life as the roll gets smaller and then it goes away. That's why I
Very
like
philosophical.
Tease will be next.
Coming up on Squawk Pod, the return of Jimmy Kimmel to late night doesn't stop the simmering tension between mega company Disney and the local stations that carry ABC programming. Puck's Matt Belloni joins us.
It really is about the relationship contractually between Disney and its affiliates. And if they want to complain, then bring it up in the negotiation.
Welcome back to Squawk Pod.
Stand by, Joe. His mic, cue.
Jimmy Kimmel returning to late night TV. If you blinked, you wouldn't even know he wasn't on a couple of days. Those stations owned by Nexstar and Sinclair are opting not to broadcast Kimmel's show. Kimmel said he wasn't trying to make fun of the shooting death of Charlie Kirk last week when he made comments. Wasn't trying to be funny, but he was trying to link Kirk's alleged killer to the MAGA movement of President Trump. Here's what he had to say about Trump himself.
The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke.
Join us now, Puck's Matt Belloni. It's been sort of 10 years since that escalator ride. Kind of been 10 years of, I don't really know if I'd call them jokes because it's never really funny. They're just applause lines we usually get. But that's neither here nor there. What's Disney look like after this? Bruised and battered? I think for a while the right was happy with what they did. Now the right's going to be mad. The left's now going to be happy, but they already had the left watching, didn't they? Net, I don't know if anyone's happy about Disney.
Well, this is more than just about this show. I mean, I think that last night was a big win for Disney in the sense that it was well received. The media coverage, which had just absolutely been brutalizing Disney for the past week for the decision, I think that they won that night because Kimmel came across as emotional. He came across as, he didn't outright apologize for the comment, but he did clarify that he did not mean to link the alleged shooter, to the MAGA movement. And he was emotional about it. He cried a little bit. So I think that last night Disney can feel good about it. Now the question is what the fallout is going to be, because 66 stations, more than 20% of the country was not able to watch that on linear TV last night. And these two station groups have said that they are going to continue to talk to Disney. So does this lead to some kind of a settlement or a path back for those stations? That's the big question.
Doing everything he can to say that the shooter wasn't one of their own. How can he say that he wasn't trying to link the shooter?
Well, we disagree on this. If you actually look at what he said,
no, I can read it for you again.
He was talking about people trying to score political points by linking the shooter
by
to the
trying
MAGA
to link
movement.
it to anything other than one of their own.
Yes.
That's only one way you can take that, Matt.
I agree it's ambiguous, but there is a legitimate argument that he was making fun of the political
It depends on what
dumping.
the meaning of the word is. Depends on what the meaning of the word is. We'll have to disagree on that. So let's talk Nexstar and all of the different affiliates. They have some. I can tell you that they have some pre-existing problems with late night. A lot of affiliates, not just at ABC, but at CBS and NBC. They have heard from affiliates about their viewers not being served, some of them, in the center of the country. So right now, I think Democrats are going to investigate the proposed merger and how this all plays into whether there's coercion to get a deal done. And that's why they're not airing Kimmel right now, because they're trying to curry favor with the Trump administration. Who's going to win that? Can they argue that they've had a problem for years with late night?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they can make that argument, and Disney was aware of those arguments. Brendan Carr, the FCC chair, he is certainly saying that he's standing up for those station groups, and he wants them to be able to exert their power over this content by saying, and we don't want to air it. But that's kind of not the point. They have contracts with Disney, and they agree to air this stuff. And they can really only take it off the air for a certain amount of time before they have to go back to Disney and say, okay, this is a negotiation if we want to keep it off the air. So it really is about the relationship contractually between Disney and its affiliates. And if they want to complain, then bring it up in the negotiation.
Do you think that ratings, they're down, I think it's down 50% since the beginning of the year for Kimmel. Do those go up? And where they are right now, would he get renewed? Do you know when is he supposed to be renewed? January or May? Or we've heard.
He's got a year left, so probably at the end of this season. But first of all, the ratings issue, I don't think he's down 50% this year. He's down 50% over many years. But the thing is with Kimmel is that he does a lot of things for ABC. His show does very well on YouTube. It is overall a moneymaker for ABC. It is. I would argue that it is. They actually make.
Do you know that it is? Or, do you know is Colbert losing $50 million, or you would argue that's a moneymaker?
My reporting suggests that Colbert was losing tens of millions of dollars, but Colbert is a different situation. He does not have the same relationship with CBS that Kimmel has with ABC. His show does not do as well on digital platforms as Kimmel's does. So if you take all of that into consideration, plus you add in the carriage fees that they get from airing the content, the argument that Disney makes is that Kimmel overall is profitable for them and does bring value to them beyond just being an 11:35 host. And honestly, the proof's in the pudding. They keep renewing him. This is not a liberal agenda to keep Kimmel on the air. They keep renewing him because they find value in him being the host of that show.
It's down 43 to 45% in total viewership over since January. 43 to 45% since January this year.
Okay. Well,
so you would bet your life that it's profitable. You say it's profitable.
I'm not betting my life on a TV show, but
I am saying that
the messaging from Disney is that this show brings our network value. And honestly, I agree that the affiliates would have had a tougher argument if this was 15 years ago and these shows were generating 8 million viewers a night.
So
different situation now. But I'm betting if we see the numbers, Kimmel rates higher than Celebrity Family Feud reruns, which is what they were airing.
Hey, Matt, so here's the question. What do we know about the contracts that Disney has with the various affiliates? How long can they go without broadcasting certain things that are on the network? What would constitute a renegotiation. There are obviously rights that ABC has paid for, including the Super Bowl, which I imagine these affiliates will want to air
college
next
football.
year. Right. And so how does this work? Just walk us through the sort of business permutations of this. Take the politics out of it for a second.
Sure. I will say that I don't know the details of the exact contract. I only know what is typical in these situations. And what is typical is that these affiliates do have the right to opt out of certain content. But once they opt out for a certain amount of time, they have to go back to Disney, to the content provider, and have a conversation about what that means for both of their business, and it becomes a negotiation. So while not knowing the specifics, this cannot go on indefinitely without some kind of a negotiation between the two. They also have these deals coming up, and we don't know exactly when, but they have these affiliate arrangements come up, and then it becomes a negotiation. And the speculation is Disney will try to stick it to these affiliate groups because they're giving them a hard time. That'll be an interesting negotiation, because the argument would be, well, this is not 15 years ago when these shows were rating like they were. This is an issue ratings-wise and business-wise as well as content-wise.
On that, with the negotiations with the affiliates, Brendan Carr has already weighed in on that, on some of the negotiations that ABC in particular was already doing with its affiliates. That was back in January or February, looking at some of the hardball tactics where affiliates could in some terms even lose money with this. So even if they come back to that, that could be something where the FCC has already laid down kind of where they see the ground for this.
Yeah, Brendan Carr has been clear that he wants these affiliates to be more aggressive. He sees them as ideologically aligned with the Trump administration and able to push back on these big media companies. But the tensions between Disney and the other content owners and their affiliates has been rising in recent years because of the economics of linear television.
Right.
It's not just that these shows are lower rated, it's that everything is lower rated on linear television, and it's causing tensions with these affiliates who are not used to making this lower amount of money because of the audience. So it's
and in some
already
cases, no
very
money. I would just say, like, it's a much smaller pot to go around.
Absolutely. And when you have a much smaller pot, you're going to have testier negotiations.
Yeah. Right.
And then you throw in these ideological differences between these very conservative station owners and these content providers in New York and LA. That's where you get this conflict.
Right. Matt, we want to thank you. By the way, just to explain one thing that I think is oftentimes misunderstood about the economics of both linear TV and cable television, and the difference between how CBS might think about Colbert or ABC might think about Kimmel. You're talking about the economics of it. This is an important piece of it. Some networks like ABC, and by the way, and CNBC, just to put this on the table, think about the carriage fees that they collect, and they apportion some piece of the carriage fee to the programming on the show, and they include that in the economics. Now, technically, because there's carriage fees that are already pre-negotiated, you could run a test pattern on TV and you would still collect the carriage fee
until they don't.
Ends. So you can so you could decide to apportion the carriage fee to Squawk Box or not apportion the carriage fee to Squawk Box. And at CBS, for whatever reason,
ABC,
at CBS, when they were thinking about the economics, they were actually not apportioning, from my understanding of it,
to Colbert.
To Colbert. ABC, in terms of how they actually think about the economics, is apportioning carriage fees to the various programs.
Good.
So that's how this all works. I think
why one show would be millions of dollars in the hole and the other wouldn't.
Well, I also think, by the way, there's the YouTube piece, which is very true on Kimmel.
The test pattern and get the same numbers, which you probably could. See, I prefer Celebrity Family Feud, but that's just me.
But
I will say a lot of this is economics and not necessarily politics, not in this case in particular. But this has been building for years, and you can point to...
Time will tell. We'll see.
The ABC affiliate in Miami just switched over. They're not doing it anymore because that negotiation was so fierce.
Time will tell with Jimmy. He's back on. The world, things are right in the world.
Up next on Squawk Pod, pharmaceutical company Merck's biggest seller by billions of dollars is a cancer therapy called Keytruda. It now has a new injectable version that has just been approved by the FDA. Merck CEO Robert Davis joins us.
The ability to bring the power of Keytruda to even more patients, especially in the earlier stages of disease, where you can hopefully start to think of cancer more as a chronic disease than as a life sentence. This allows you not to have to focus on your disease every moment.
Plus, his belief in vaccines, his plan for drug pricing, and much more right after this break. You're listening to Squawk Pod from CNBC with Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Up and Becky, Q.
The FDA has approved the injectable version of Merck's cancer therapy, Keytruda. That drug accounts for nearly half of Merck's revenue. And joining us right now on set is Robert Davis. He is the chairman and CEO of Merck. Also, our very own Angelica Peebles. And welcome. It's good to see both of you. Robert, let's talk about this first of all. The injectable version. Why is this better? Why will patients want this?
Yeah. Well, first, we're very excited about this because I do think this is an important advance for cancer patients. Why this is important, this is an infusion you take under the skin. It takes about a minute. Today, if to go and have an IV inserted and to have it infused intravenously is about a 30-minute process. So we're taking 30 minutes down to 1 minute, and we're allowing patients choice. They can go to a community health center, they can go to a doctor's office. Today, they have to go to a hospital or to an infusion center. So it gives better choice to the patients. It's good for the system because it allows the system to have more capacity to treat patients. And as we look forward, the ability to bring the power of Keytruda to even more patients, especially in the earlier stages of disease, where you can hopefully start to think of cancer more as a chronic disease than as a life sentence. This allows you not to have to focus on your disease every moment.
Look, Keytruda has been an amazing development. It's been able to be expanded to so many different types of cancer. But there are critics out there who are saying, look, you're bringing this out now before the expiration of patent. This restarts the clock on the patent countdown. And you can look at Elizabeth Warren or other people who have said this is just going to make it more expensive for Americans. Why did it take so long to get to the point where you could do this? Because that does sound like a big difference for patients to have a 1 minute injection.
Yeah, so obviously because this is the combination of Keytruda, pembrolizumab, with another drug, an enzyme, we had to go through a full suite of clinical studies to be able to bring this forward. And so we've completed that work and we're bringing it forward. But I think one important point to raise is this does not extend the patent of the IV form of Keytruda. So we still expect to see generic competition, biosimilar competition for the IV form, but it allows choice. The patients can choose to stay on the IV and they could choose to go to a biosimilar if they'd like to, but if they would prefer to be able to have this where you don't have to have potentially a port inserted under the skin, which normally if you are being infused with chemotherapy or today with Keytruda, you have to have a port implanted. So to be able to potentially avoid that if you're on monotherapy in combinations with orals or in earlier stages, it's just better choice for the patient. So we don't see it as supplanting the IV, just giving more choice.
And you've talked about the fact that you're planning to price it at parity to the IV, but what exactly will that price be, and how are you thinking about how that pricing will change as the biosimilars do come in?
Yeah, so we're not going to announce the specific price until we get closer to actual launch. Hopefully it will be later this month. But you are correct, the goal is to generally price at parity with the intention to not make price a reason to avoid this drug. We want to drive adoption of this drug. And as we look forward, once biosimilars, our goal would be to probably move with the price. So this is not necessarily a price play for us. It is a way to drive and continue adoption of Keytruda in its form, in this new form, to drive for the value we can get for total access and coverage, not a price play. That's not why we did this.
And you've talked about, you think that 30 to 40% of people will move over to the shot from the IV. So how important is that, hitting those numbers to actually moving through and growing through that patent expiration? Yeah, so it is part of our overall story, but we're so much more than that, to be honest with you. And as I mentioned to you previously, it is really, we are moving into a growth phase through new product launches. We have over 20 new assets which will be launching
over the next 5 years, over $50 billion of revenue potential. And as you look in oncology alone, while this is obviously, we're so excited about this continued invention with Keytruda QLEX, we have 10 other new oncology assets which will be launching in the next 5 years. So it's about that full breadth built on the base of Keytruda, and this 30 to 40%, but is important. But I'm as focused, if not more focused, on driving that new growth as I am on what Keytruda can be going forward.
Will any of those new drugs be as big as Keytruda? I mean, is this the biggest that we're going to see? It's this massive, $30 billion in sales last year. So can we see another drug like that, or is it going to be, a bunch of these smaller ones?
So as we look forward, of the 20 total assets I mentioned, 10 in oncology, we expect almost all of those to have blockbuster potential. Many of those can be into the multi-billion dollars. But I don't expect you'll see another Keytruda in that suite, but you never know. We actually didn't believe Keytruda would be what it has turned out to be. So we'll have to see. But our goal, if we can bring the breadth and the diversity of our pipeline, continue to build on the leadership we have in oncology, add to that growing opportunities to drive leadership in cardiometabolic, in ophthalmology, in HIV, to us, that is the approach that allows us for sustainable growth for the long term. And I'm confident in that, and that's why you've heard me say I see Keytruda as more of a hill than a cliff, and I'm already looking at how are we growing beyond Keytruda as much as I'm worrying about Keytruda itself.
Well, one of those areas obviously is vaccines. It's a big business for you. And I wonder, watching last week's meeting of the CDC's vaccine advisors, what you took away from that meeting and where you expect them to go next.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I hope people appreciate the benefit that vaccines have brought. We think of all of the preventable diseases that are out there: polio, measles, mumps, rubella, whooping cough. You can go down the list. These are preventable diseases. These are devastating diseases if they happen. And so vaccines have been a critical part of public health, and we need to protect that. If you look at what the ACIP, the recommendations they put through, I didn't see that they presented any new science in support of the changed recommendation, and it did run contrary to years of scientific study supporting what was the existing schedule. So my concern is we need to make sure we continue to drive choice and we continue to preserve and protect this important benefit. And as we start to bring hesitancy to vaccines, my concern is people are going to not get vaccinated, and we're going to face diseases we thought were gone, and that will be a tragedy.
What have you seen just in terms of demand for Merck's vaccines to this point? We know that there was vaccine hesitancy that began after COVID. What's happened in the last year? Overall,
The vaccine hesitancy that you saw starting COVID is continuing. So it has not changed. I wouldn't say we've seen an acceleration yet of increased hesitancy, but it's something we're always watching, and it's something we all need to protect against.
Are you dismayed by what you've seen and heard, just in terms of what's being put out as scientific evidence and truth at this point?
Well, I guess what I would say is I put a lot of faith and confidence in our own clinical teams, in the years of study through robust clinical work that Merck and other pharmaceuticals have done. These are well-designed studies. They've been peer-reviewed. They've been reviewed multiple governments around the world. So I stand firmly behind the safety and effectiveness of our vaccines. And I want to ensure that people have choice, but I want them to have a balanced understanding of the benefit these bring and not avoid them due to misinformation. That's my concern. We need gold-plated science.
Is mRNA, are those vaccines something you wish you had, or is that the future? Are there questions about differing safety profiles for messenger RNA versus the conventional vaccines?
Yeah, so today we don't have mRNA vaccine, right, as far as it is for treating, if you will, infectious disease. We actually are partnered with Moderna with mRNA for a cancer vaccine, which we're very excited about, the individualized neoantigen therapy, which is showing great early data in melanoma and hopefully will go broader. So we're very focused there. I think as you look at the vaccines landscape, there are multiple modalities. No one modality is going to drive it all. They all have a place.
Do you think there's cause for concern with the differing mechanism of action for like an adeno vaccine versus a messenger RNA vaccine. I mean, I've always thought that the half-life of like a piece of messenger RNA is like seconds, but you hear conspiracy theories that it's in people's, you know, that you've got spike proteins a year after. Is any of that, should you be more, because all vaccines do stimulate the immune system, and you wonder about the combination of all of them, and if you didn't need to take them, I don't think anyone would want them. Is there more risk to a messenger RNA vaccine?
Well, obviously we haven't studied it in infectious disease, so I can't speak to what I haven't studied. But I would say
it's nice the way you can upgrade you can change it immediately. It's so facile that it'd be nice. I mean, it's a great platform if it's safe, right? Sorry to interrupt.
But I would say that, you know, obviously we are moving as fast as we can with the partnership we have with Moderna. So obviously we believe in the safety and effectiveness of that vaccine, or we wouldn't be studying it. And nothing we've seen so far would point to any safety concerns. We need to finish our studies to prove the effectiveness, but we are pushing that through. If we can come out with a cancer vaccine that is meaningful, think how that's going to change care for patients going forward.
How do you design a trial that will pass muster with some people when these people, it's not fair to give anyone a placebo if they're going to die in 3 months? How do you design a trial? That was the issue on that drug earlier this week. There's concerns about, which guy is he? Vinay Prasad.
He has raised concerns.
Right. He's raised concerns, but
But there are other people who say, what are you going to do?
Well, you know, it's a tough ethical question because, and the way science has viewed it is, where you know you have a preventable disease that you can cure, if you run the placebo study and expose patients to something they otherwise would not be exposed to, that is an ethical dilemma. Our approach has been to follow the science and to run the studies where there is established care. You reference and compare to that established care. You don't always go back to placebo. So, you know, I can't speak to the FDA's views of this. That's for them to speak to. But I'm firmly comfortable that the approaches we've taken from the way we design studies are safe and effective. They've been in place for many, many years, and I'd like to see it continue as we've been doing it.
And just sticking with DC, you know, Monday is this deadline that the Trump administration has given companies like yours to voluntarily lower prices closer to in line with other countries. So are you going to voluntarily lower those prices? What should we expect to see from Merck?
Yeah, well, we're still in discussion, so I don't want to get ahead of where we are in our discussions with the government. But what I would say is generally, we need to find ways to lower the price in the United States. And also, I agree that we have to get prices outside the United States up. And as an industry, we're working to do that. My belief is the best way to lower price in the United States is to look at the dysfunction in our system. Today, you have, for every dollar spent on a pharmaceutical, only 50 cents on average comes to the discoverer, the company that takes the risk, that makes the investment. The other 50 cents goes to the middleman.
The pharmacy benefits manager?
Pharmacy benefit managers, insurers, in some cases into the hospital systems, distributors. There's a whole list of players in that space. If we could find a way to take that cost and bring down the cost of medicines, you could reduce the cost nearly in half.
And you'd still be making the same amount of profit.
And we would still be able to make the same and invest in the necessary science that makes us the innovation leader of the world. My biggest concern right now is China is coming fast. I think people underestimate how good they are at the science they're driving today. We are the leaders of the world today. I don't want to see us cede that leadership. And so we continue to bring that message forward. We need to get foreign prices up. As an industry, we're working to do that. We need the government to help us through trade negotiation to do that. And we need to bring prices down. So on principle, I would say we're aligned with the administration. It's just now figuring out how do we best do it in a way that preserves the innovation of this industry and the value we bring, but gives better pricing for U.S. patients.
Maybe they can move all the research to another lab other than the Wuhan lab over in China.
Well,
just a thought.
Yeah. We're, just to be clear, for Merck, virtually all of our research is here in the United States. And importantly, we've been heavily investing to bring manufacturing back in the United States. Over $12 billion invested since 2018, another $12 billion between now and 2029 to build for the U.S., in the U.S., and that's where our mission is, and that's what we're going to do.
You are one of the companies, though, that has actually done deals with Chinese biotechs. You know, you've scooped up some of those assets, and there's been some suggestion that the Trump administration might seek to crack down on that. So have you talked to the administration about that? Are you involved in those negotiations?
Well, I've not spoken specifically to the administration about that consideration. What I would say is where we've done deals in China, that is to bring that science to the West. So we are developing those drugs here in the United States and around the world. It's not they're not staying in China. So my view is you access the best science wherever you can find it. And if you find the best science, you're going to bring the most care to patients. It happens to be that we've seen a few deals in China that allowed us to do that. We've also done many deals in the United States and through Europe. So we look everywhere where we can find the best science.
Rob, thank you very much for coming in today. And Angelica, thank you for bringing them.
Great. Thank you very much.
That's the pod for today. Thanks for tuning in. Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Check us out weekday mornings on CNBC at 6 Eastern. Or get the smartest takes and analysis from our TV show right into your ears when you follow Squawk Pod wherever you get your podcasts. We'll meet you right back here tomorrow.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.